Hey y'all, it's Christy with Christy's Custom Creations, and if you remember my last video, I did an unboxing of the double tumbler mug press from EENOUR, and I finally got the opportunity to use it. I absolutely love it, y'all. So I ordered some of the glass snow globe tumblers from Hog. This was the first time I've ever ordered any from Hog, so y'all get to see me try it out for the first time. I like it. It's I think a 16 ounce. I've got it written down on a piece of paper later in the video, so you'll get to see. I think it was a 16 ounce glass snow globe from Hog, and it came with plugs to plug the bottom of the tumbler after you put your glitter and liquid in there. This is a 20 ounce skinny straight sublimation tumbler from MakerFlow. I love MakerFlow. Most of my tumblers that I use in my videos are from MakerFlow, and I've got a link down in the description box for that. So this is a tape measure. I don't know if y'all have problems with coming up with your measurements for your tumblers and stuff, but y'all, this tape measure right here is the bomb. So instead of trying to figure out, like 3 slashes past the 9, this literally does it all for you. So you put your little measuring tape on there, and as you can see right here, it tells me exactly 8.2 inches, 8.27, but it's just a little bit, we'll just put 8.2 down. So the height for this 20 ounce stainless steel tumbler here is 8.2. So you just put this little thing in there, push the button to make it retract, and it will tell you your width. Now, it's always, yes, I'm doing it this way. It's always good to measure twice though. So you'll see it in here shortly. I actually ended up measuring twice and put a different number down because I got thinking about the numbers. I was like, wait a minute. So I measured twice on that one. Now on this snow globe tumbler, I didn't measure from the very top to the very bottom because the glass curves. So I only measured the area where I would be sublimating, and it was 5.2 inches. And yes, it is a 16 ounce, but as you can see right there where it curves, the sublimation paper isn't going to wrap around it very well. So this tape measure is super easy to use. Got it on Amazon. Actually, Susie, my admin in my Facebook group, got it for me on Amazon, and so I'll have that link down in the description box below. But these are the measurements for the 2 sublimation printouts that I did, and here that's where I decided to measure again. I got 9.29, so I just rounded it up to 9.3 for the width of the 20 ounce tumbler here. So final measurements, and that's what I went and printed on my Epson 15,000 printer. So I found both of these images on Etsy, and I'll have the Etsy links down in the description box below. And I've just got my cutter here, which I also bought on Amazon. Y'all, I love Amazon. So I've got that, and I'm going to use that to cut these 2 images so that they are ready to wrap around the tumblers and sublimate. So whenever you're cutting your image for sublimation, this image doesn't necessarily have like a defined border on it, so it's not as important to get it perfect, but I like to try to cut as close to the design as I can without actually cutting the design. Whenever you do have a design that's like a solid picture, as the next one is, you want to cut as close as you can. Like, you don't want any white showing at all on a design that is meant to pretty much be seamless. So on this one, I'm cutting as close to the image as I can. This is just going to be black that's going to be sublimated onto the tumbler, and I'm just comparing it, make sure it fits just right and lines up, and looky there, my measurements are perfect. So if you have trouble measuring like I do, get you that tape measure. I think it was like $19 or something like that on Amazon. It was pretty good. So whenever I'm cutting images like this, where it's a very solid image, it needs to be a seamless design, I like to, or somewhat seamless, I like to cut right on the edges so I can see the corners as I'm lining it up on my cutter to make sure that I get it right on the line, perfectly straight and everything. That way I don't accidentally cut unevenly. I find that's my little cheat that I use to cut right on my line there. And as you can see, I'm lining them up and just kind of bending the paper to make sure it lines up just right. So cut as close as you can without leaving any white or cutting into the image too much. I mean, a little bit may not be a big deal, but you really don't want to cut into the image if you can help it. So cut it as close as you can. and then we are going to start wrapping the tumblers. And this is one of my favorite songs that this tumbler wrap goes along with. So this image, and like I said, I bought both images on Etsy, and I'll have them linked in the description box below. So I've got my heat tape and I've got my dispenser here. I really like this dispenser because it makes it easy to just grab. It kind of like, as you spin this thing, it cuts the tape into perfect sizes, and I'm just able to just grab a piece of tape. So the cool thing about doing the glass tumblers is you can look inside and make sure everything is sitting right where it needs to sit. And other than like, if you compare that to like a stainless steel tumbler, you can't look inside, so you don't know how, if your seam, if your cut is slightly off, you can't tell if your seam is lined up perfectly or not, because you obviously can't see inside the stainless steel tumbler. One nice thing about using a tumbler press is it does the compression for you, so you don't have to just completely wrap the ever-loving stew out of these tumblers like you have to whenever you're using a convection oven. So I've got my little squeegee tool. I'm just gonna try to get that seam down real good so that it's so that we have good connection, and then I'm going to move on to my 20-ounce design here, or my 20-ounce tumbler, and then we will press it. So the really cool thing about this tumbler press that I unboxed in my last video is you can press 2 different cups at the exact same time. So you can press a 20-ounce skinny on this side, and then on the other side you can press a 16-ounce fatter snow globe, wider snow globe tumbler. So it's really neat, and you can do them at different temperatures, different times. They are 2 separate units all in one, which is it's really cool. It's really convenient. So if you need to knock out a lot of tumblers in a short amount of time, this is the way to do it. I mean, like you can literally double your work in the same amount of time. So it's pretty cool. So I'm just taping my seam down really good here and making sure that I don't have any like kind of big gaps in my paper or anything like that. So I do my seam there, and then I take one long strip and I put it down the middle of the seam, and I will take my little squeegee tool and just make sure I've got it pressed down real good. With this being a solid image, I really wanted to focus on that seam really well, because I mean, I want the seam to look good. You don't want a big line there at the seam, and this turned out really, really good. I do like to put a piece of tape around the top edges, or a couple pieces, just to really help secure it and keep it from lifting or causing any ghosting, because if you don't have really good contact with the image onto the tumbler, you will run into some ghosting issues where the image doesn't transfer well enough, and it's kind of like a ghosted image. So I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom, but like I mentioned earlier, the nice thing about the tumbler presses is that it does a lot of the compression for you, so you don't have to tape quite as much, quite as hard as you used to have to whenever you were doing it with a sublimation oven, or I mean a convection oven to do the sublimation. So just going to put these 2 bases. I usually like to use a thicker piece of tape on the top, but I ran out of my kind of medium width tape for the top, and I need to get some more from Amazon, but just using my squeegee tool to really just get in there and make sure that I've got the the edges in great contact with the cup here. So once I'm confident that I've got that, it's going to be time to get the tumbler press going. Alright, so here's the EENOUR double tumbler press, and initially I started trying to put the 20 ounce in the left side and then the 16 ounce glass in the right side, and I realized that the left side is actually meant for a thicker cup and the right side can be for a smaller cup. So these little knobs on the edge, you just adjust for the width of your tumbler. You want it to be nice and snug, but not so snug that, like with the glass tumblers, you don't want it to be so snug that it breaks the glass, because we are dealing with glass. You just want really good contact there. So as you can see, I'm kind of adjusting it, and I'm adjusting it before I turn it on. So this tumbler press is not hot. It is room temp right now, and I'm just making sure that I've got my adjustments right on each side so that I've got good pressure but not enough to break the glass. All right, so now that I am happy with the compression and our adjustments on the tumbler press, I've got my little piece of paper here where I wrote down, I previously wrote down the times and temperatures that I like to use for glass. So for glass, I like to press it at 400 degrees for 120 seconds, and then I rotate it and I do it for another 120 seconds. For the metal, the stainless steel, I like to do it for, I believe it was 350, it said it on the paper, but 350 for 45 seconds, and then I rotate it 180 degrees and press it for another 45 seconds. So that is the measurements I use on my other tumbler press, and that's the same, not measurements, that's the time and temp I use on my other EENOUR tumbler press, which you can just see up to the left hand side of the screen there. And it's the same time and temp that I used in this tumbler press, and it worked out absolutely perfect. So I think I've found the sweet spot for the temp and the time on doing the glass and the stainless steel tumblers. So I'm just making sure up here on the little display that you saw me adjusting, that adjusts the temperature and the time, and then the little green button down on the bottom, it starts the timer. And then on the other side, the bottom one runs the right side, and so I'm just adjusting them for each individual tumbler, and I'm going to let this tumbler press warm up. Okay, so now that everything is set, I'm going to get all my supplies ready. I've got my heat resistant gloves. This is like a little cork board, and whenever I'm unwrapping the tumbler, I set it down, and that's just my picking tool that I got all of it on Amazon. So after the tumbler comes out of the press, it's really hot, and I've got these plastic tables, so I don't want to set my tumbler down onto a plastic table. So I set it down onto the cork board. All right, let's see. Get them going. I went ahead and adjusted the metal one just a little bit, and I start the timer on both of them. So the timer is going to start counting down, and they're going to do their thing and press. The stainless steel one takes a lot less time because it's metal and it heats up faster, so it took a lot less time than the glass one did. So once my 45 seconds was up, I rotated it 180 degrees and I pressed it for another 45 seconds. So when that's done, I'm going to take the stainless steel one out, and I'm going to set it on the little cork board here, and it's going to be time to, I guess I lied, y'all. I ended up pressing it just a little bit longer around the edges. Time to rotate the metal one. So I pressed it on the edges just to make sure I had really, really good, secure contact with the paper and everything while it heated. And while the glass one is ticking away and cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start unwrapping this stainless steel one. So I've got my little pick tool, and what I like the pick tool for is just basically pulling the tape off, because if you use a knife to kind of cut the tape so it's easier to peel off, you run the risk of scratching the tumbler. So I've done it before, so I know from personal experience, that's why I use my pick tool to just pull the tape up instead. And I know I'm kind of a little bit out of screen here. I'm just trying to keep the tumbler press and the stainless steel mug in video. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but I totally forgot to set the time on the glass tumbler. So I was just kind of like, oh no. And so I kind of just guesstimated on it. But that's how easy it is to press 2 tumblers at one time. Y'all, I love this heat press. Look, you can't even see the seam on this thing. It did great. It's beautiful on the top and bottom. And it took me a minute. I was trying to find the seam, and there it runs right there. It's a seamless design. I love it. It's so cute. So time to unwrap this metal one. And y'all, make sure you use heat gloves because they are hot. They are very, very hot when you pull them out of the press. But I do have to say, my opinion on this double tumbler press is this thing is awesome. If you are interested in getting one, I will have one linked down in the description box below. But it did perfect. So my next video, I will be filling up this glass snow globe tumbler with some glitter. So if you liked the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And as always, I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.